Everyone thinks they have job security until they don't. This is what your life looks like at every level of layoff risk. Level 1. The disposable. You are sitting in a break room at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Someone from HR just walked past your desk without making eye contact. They never come to this floor. Your stomach knows something your brain isn't ready to admit yet. You are 27 years old. You have been at this company for 11 months, not long enough to vest, not long enough to matter. Your title is associate. Your salary is $52,000. After rent, after taxes, after the car payment you needed to get to this job, you have about $310 left at the end of every month. You are not essential. You have always known this. The work you do could be done by someone cheaper, someone offshore, someone automated. You have read the think pieces. You understand the math. Understanding it doesn't protect you from it. The email comes at 4:15 p.m. All hands, 30 minutes, no agenda. You know what a no agenda all hands means. Everyone in the room knows. Nobody says it out loud. A VP you've never spoken to reads from a prepared statement about market conditions and strategic realignment and the incredibly difficult decision to reduce headcount by 18%. He looks like he practiced this in a mirror. You are in the 18%. They walk you out the same day. Box of things, badge on the desk, elevator down. You stand on the sidewalk with your succulent and a charging cable and nowhere specific to be. You file for unemployment that night. The weekly benefit is $387. Your rent is $1,400. You do the arithmetic and then you close the laptop. You spend the next 3 months applying to jobs. You watch your savings go from $4,200 to $1,800 to $600. You tell your parents things are going okay. They believe you because they want to. You get another offer eventually, different company, same title, same $52,000. You take it before they finish the sentence. You sit back down at a desk that looks exactly like the last one and you start the clock over. You already know how this ends. Level 2. The anxious employed. You have been here 2 years, long enough to know the rhythms, long enough to recognize the silence that comes before bad news. Your title changed once, nothing else did. You make $67,000. You have $8,000 in savings. You have learned to hold all of this loosely because you watched 3 people get walked out in the same quarter and none of them saw it coming either. You perform security you don't feel. You nod in all-hands meetings. You volunteer for the visible projects. You make sure your manager knows your name before every review cycle. You have learned that being good at your job is not the same as being safe at your job. The layoff watch is a constant background noise. You read the tech blogs. You follow the finance subreddits. You know which companies are burning cash and which are profitable. You know that your division hasn't hit its numbers in 6 months. You know what that means, and you go to work anyway, and you smile and you contribute, and you CC the right people on emails, and you hope that someone in a room you'll never enter decides you're worth keeping. Performance review season is its own specific anxiety. You spend 2 weeks building a document about your own value, bullet points of impact, metrics you moved, projects you shipped. You are making a case for your own existence to people who are making a case for their budget to people above them. Everyone is advocating. Not everyone survives. You got a 2.7% raise last year. Inflation was 4.1%. You did the math and then you stopped doing the math. You have a 401k. You contribute 6% because that's what the onboarding sheet suggested. You have not looked at the balance in 4 months because the number going down felt worse than not knowing. You have a LinkedIn profile you update every 6 months whether you're looking or not. You keep your resume somewhere you can find it quickly. You have a list of references you check in on every year. Not because you're leaving, just because you learned that the people who scramble when it happens are the ones who had nowhere to scramble to. You are not miserable. You want to be clear about that. You like your team. The work is fine. Some days it's even interesting. But underneath all of it is a frequency you can't turn off. A low hum that says, this could end. Any quarter, any reorg, any Tuesday at 4:15 p.m. You have simply accepted that this is what employment feels like now, and you go to sleep and you wake up and you go back. Level 3. The specialized something shifted when you narrowed down. You spent 3 years being generalist enough to hire and replaceable enough to cut. Then you got specific. You went deep into one thing, a technical skill, a regulatory domain, a system only 12 people in your industry fully understand. The market for what you do is thin. That used to feel like a weakness. You understand now that it's a wall. You make $94,000. You got here by becoming harder to replace than you were worth to cut. Your manager can't evaluate your work directly anymore. She knows if it's done. She doesn't know if it's done right. That gap is where your security lives. You are not immune. Nobody is immune. But the calculus of layoffs is who costs the most to remove. Not in salary, in consequence. You are the person the team would visibly break without. You are the one whose absence would require months of institutional recovery. Firing you is expensive in a way that doesn't fit in a spreadsheet. So they don't. You know 2 or 3 other people in your city doing exactly what you do. You have coffee with them twice a year, not networking, something closer to professional kinship. You watch each other's companies. You share a signal about the market. If one of you loses a role, the others will know who's hiring before the job posts publicly. This is what people mean when they say know the right people. It is not who you went to college with, it is who respects what you do specifically enough to vouch for it. You have declined 2 recruiters this year, not because the offers were bad, because you're not running from anything. That is a new feeling. You don't take it for granted. Your anxiety hasn't disappeared. It has changed shape. It used to be about whether you'd keep your job. Now it's about whether the entire domain stays relevant. You watch automation news carefully. You watch your industry shift. You reinvest in your skills the way other people pay homeowners insurance regularly without expecting to need it, knowing you might. Level 4, the internally critical. Your name comes up in meetings you're not in. You know this because people reference conversations you weren't part of and they assume you already know the outcome. You usually do. You have been here 6 years. Your salary is $118,000 and you have stopped checking whether that's market rate. You should probably check. You know where every body is buried in this organization. Which vendor contract is a disaster, which team is quietly underperforming, which initiative the CEO cares about this quarter, and which one he's already forgotten. You know which senior leader is difficult before 10 a.m. You know whose approval actually moves things regardless of what the org chart says. This knowledge took years to accumulate. It cannot be transferred in an offboarding document. It lives in your head and it makes you expensive to lose in a way that has nothing to do with your technical skills. You are not bulletproof. Reorgs happen, divisions close, but you are the last person cut in a round of layoffs because removing you means removing the map. The trap at this level is comfort. You are valuable here specifically. Outside this building, some of what makes you essential is invisible. Your knowledge of this company's specific politics doesn't transfer. Your relationships here don't translate to a resume line. You have colleagues who stayed too long and missed the window. They were invaluable until the company was acquired and the new owners didn't know what they didn't know. Then they were just expensive. You think about this sometimes, not with urgency, just awareness. You keep your external relationships warm. You take the calls from old colleagues who moved. You stay visible in your industry in small ways. You are loyal to this place and clear-eyed about it at the same time. Level 5, the portable expert. You made yourself valuable here. Then you made yourself valuable everywhere. You have built a reputation that exists outside any single employer. People cite your work in presentations. You get invited to speak at the kind of conferences where the badge has your name in large letters. Your LinkedIn has 14,000 followers you didn't try to get. Recruiters contact you every 3 weeks. You have not applied for a job in 4 years. You make $155,000. Your last company paid $140,000. The one before that paid $122,000. The direction is not a coincidence. You negotiated every one of those numbers from a position of not needing to. That is the only position worth negotiating from. A layoff at this level is inconvenient. That's the whole story. You would have 3 conversations and 2 offers inside of 60 days. You know this because it has happened. You were part of a reduction in force 18 months ago, 500 people. You were in the 500. You had a job before the severance check cleared. The security at this level is not about any single employer. It is about the ecosystem. You have become part of the infrastructure of your industry. Hiring you is not just about your output. It's about what your name on the team signals to others. Companies want what you represent, not just what you build. You mentor people now, not because anyone asked you to, because the junior people in your world remind you of who you were and you remember how opaque all of it seemed from inside it. You tell them, the goal is not to be loyal to a company. The goal is to build something a company can't own. Your skills, your reputation, your relationships, those go home with you every night. The badge doesn't. Level 6. The market protected. Every economic contraction looks roughly the same. Companies freeze hiring. Then they cut headcount. Then they cut again. Entire industries contract. Entire job categories disappear. People who thought they were stable discover they weren't. This is the cycle. It has always been the cycle. And then there are people who don't notice recessions the same way, not because they're lucky, because they built their work into categories that don't compress. You are a nurse practitioner. You are a civil engineer. You are a forensic accountant. You are a plumber who owns his roots. You are an electrician who trains apprentices. You are a tax attorney who works with small businesses. You are a pharmacist in a rural county where you are the only one for 40 miles. Or you are something newer, a cloud security specialist, a regulatory compliance analyst, a data privacy officer in a sector that just got legislated into mandatory hiring, someone whose job exists because the law says it must. The recession hedge is not a single career. It is a category of positioning. You work in a field that gets busier when times get hard. Healthcare doesn't slow down in a recession. It fills up. Infrastructure work doesn't stop. It gets funded. Accounting for distressed companies is its own entire specialty. The law doesn't simplify during economic crises. It gets more complicated. You have watched friends in marketing and media get cut in waves. You watch the tech layoffs of 2023 and 2024 displace hundreds of thousands of people. You watched entire categories of work vaporize in months. You went to work both years. Not because you're exceptional, because you chose a position in the workforce that behaves like a utility. People stop buying things when money gets tight. They don't stop needing care. They don't stop needing infrastructure. They don't stop needing help navigating the law. You earn $88,000 to $160,000 depending on your specialty and geography. You are not wealthy by Silicon Valley standards. You are something more durable than wealthy. You are needed regardless of what the Fed does with interest rates. The trade-off is real. You did not get rich fast. You may never get rich at all by certain definitions. The ceiling of your income is lower than a tech executive's. The floor is much higher than most. You chose the floor. You have never regretted it. Level 7. The owner. You stopped trading time for money, not all at once, gradually and then suddenly, like most things that change your life. You spent years working for someone else. You were good at it. Maybe you were even excellent, but somewhere in year 4 or year 7 or year 12, you did the arithmetic that every employee eventually does. You counted what you generated and subtracted what you earned and stared at the number in between. You started something. A service business, a franchise, a firm. Something small enough to run yourself and large enough to run without you if you built it that way. You built it that way. You have 4 employees now, or 12 or 40. The number matters less than the structure. The business generates revenue when you're on vacation. It generates revenue when you're sick. It generated revenue last March when you took 2 weeks and drove across the country and answered emails only twice. That is what you were building toward, not the drive, the twice. A recession doesn't threaten your job because you don't have a job. It threatens your revenue, which is different. Revenue falls, you adjust, you cut costs, you find new channels. You don't get walked out by HR. You don't get a no agenda all hands. You get a bad quarter and then you work the problem. The fear is different. It is bigger and more personal and more constant in some ways. When you worked for someone else, the worst thing that could happen was losing your job. When you own something, the worst thing that can happen is losing it entirely. That is a different weight. You carry it and you keep going because the alternative is working for someone who carries it for you and pays you a fraction of the consequence for taking it off your hands. Your income is $0 and $400,000 and everywhere in between depending on the year. Someday it will be more consistent. You are not there yet. But nobody can call you into an office and hand you a box that is worth something you cannot put a number on. Level 8. The ghost proof. You have multiple streams of income. This is not a personal finance aphorism. It is a structural fact about your life. You have a consulting practice. You have a course that sells while you sleep. You have a rental property or a dividend portfolio or a stake in something a friend built. You have a skill the market pays for and you sell it to 3 clients at once instead of 1 employer at a time. No single phone call can end your financial life. This is the thing. This is the thing most people spend their careers hoping to achieve without ever naming it clearly enough to build toward it. You built toward it. It took longer than you expected. It cost more than you budgeted. There were years that looked like failure from the inside. A course launch that made $1,200 instead of $12,000. A consulting client who disappeared without paying. A market that moved before you could move with it. You absorbed all of it and you kept building because each piece of the structure made the whole thing more durable. You are 41 years old, or 36, or 52. The age matters less than the architecture. If one stream dries up, you tighten and wait and the others carry you. If 2 dry up at once, which has not happened, you would have time. Months, maybe more, enough to rebuild. You are not dependent on any single outcome. That is what security actually means. Not tenure, not a pension, not a generous severance. Options, real ones, built by you, owned by you. You still work hard. The idea that passive income means not working is a fantasy sold to people who haven't tried to build anything passive. It is active work that eventually becomes less active. You are not on a beach. You are at a desk, but you are at your desk. And the difference between those 2 sentences is everything. The loop. Right now, a 27-year-old is sitting in a break room. Someone from HR just walked past without making eye contact. He is about to learn something it takes most people years to learn, that employment is not security, that a salary is not a foundation, that the only durable thing you can build in a working life is something a single decision in a conference room cannot take from you. He doesn't know that yet. He is about to find out. The people at the top of this ladder didn't start there. They started exactly where he's sitting, box on the sidewalk, badge on the desk, nowhere specific to be. The difference is only what they decided to build after the elevator went down. The cycle continues. It always does. The only question is which part of the cycle you decide to step off.